The room was charged with anticipation as Representative Jasmine Crockett prepared to speak. Facing Senator Ted Cruz, known for his fiery rhetoric and polarizing positions, she was poised, yet calm. Crockett wasn't new to confrontation, but this time was different. This wasn't about party lines, it was about truth versus performance. Cruz had just made a sweeping statement, filled with half-truths and political theater, trying to frame the narrative in his favor. The audience leaned in, expecting a rebuttal, maybe even a heated exchange. What they got instead was a 72-second masterclass in accountability that left the entire chamber silent. Crockett began with laser precision, calling out the inconsistencies in Cruz's argument. Her voice didn't rise, her hands didn't shake. Every word was deliberate. She cited legislation Cruz had publicly supported but voted against, laid out how his public outrage often contradicted his actions behind the scenes, and reminded him of moments where he chose politics over people. She didn't insult him, she dismantled him with facts. It was the kind of response that didn't need applause to echo. Her timing was surgical, her evidence airtight. For once, even Cruz seemed momentarily frozen, caught without a response. In that brief window, Crockett addressed more than just Cruz. She spoke to the American people, the ones tired of performance politics, tired of drama with no results. She framed her argument in terms of values, not party lines. She reminded the chamber that real leadership is shown in consistency, in action, not in headline-grabbing outrage. And in doing so, she pulled back the curtain on Cruz's carefully maintained persona. It wasn't just a rebuttal, it was a dismantling, a deconstruction of the myth Cruz had built around himself, exposed under the weight of pure, unshakable truth. As her 72 seconds came to a close, you could hear a pin drop. There was no yelling, no grandstanding, just undeniable clarity. She leaned back in her chair, the message delivered. Cruz fumbled with a response, attempting to pivot or joke, but the power dynamic had shifted. Crockett had flipped the script, and what made it all the more impactful was her composure. She didn't gloat or boast. She let the facts do the heavy lifting. That moment, short as it was, spread like wildfire. It wasn't just seen, it was felt deep and wide across political spectrums. Within minutes, clips began circulating online. Jasmine Crockett schools Ted Cruz, read one tweet. Best 72 seconds in politics, said another. Hashtags trended across platforms. Even networks that rarely covered Crockett's work couldn't ignore it. Analysts scrambled to replay and analyze every second of her takedown. It wasn't that Cruz had never been challenged. It was that he had never been so calmly, publicly, and thoroughly exposed. And all without a single personal attack. That's what struck people most. Crockett used the truth like a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. It was clean, powerful, and impossible to refute. The public reaction was swift and intense. Supporters praised her for bringing facts back into focus, for refusing to play into shouting matches, and for staying above the usual mudslinging. Critics of Cruz, even those in his own party, admitted the moment was devastatingly effective. There was a certain kind of silence that followed, a stunned recognition that something authentic had just cut through the noise. No spin, no filter. Just one woman standing firmly on knowledge, armed with receipts and unwilling to be intimidated. Crockett didn't just respond, she led, and it shook the room. Later that evening, reporters asked Crockett about the moment. She smiled and simply said, "I came with the truth, that's all." She didn't see it as a victory over Cruz. She saw it as a moment to remind everyone what leadership should look like, accountable, prepared, and focused on the people, not political points. Meanwhile, Cruz remained notably quiet, avoiding media attention, as headlines framed the event as a rare defeat for the seasoned senator. His usual media circuits didn't jump to his defense. It was as if even they knew there was no spinning what had just happened. In the days that followed, the exchange continued to reverberate. Commentators noted how Crockett's calm dismantling marked a turning point for how debates might unfold in Congress. No more shouting over each other, no more empty catchphrases, just clear, confident facts that speak for themselves. Others pointed to her background as a civil rights attorney, saying this is exactly the kind of voice needed in national politics, one that doesn't waver under pressure and doesn't settle for surface-level rhetoric. She didn't rise in that moment because she wanted attention. She rose because the truth demanded it, and while some tried to downplay the moment as just a good clip, others saw it as symbolic of something much larger, a generational shift, a new standard. For political dialogue, Jasmine Crockett represented not only herself, but a broader call for integrity in leadership. Her actions in those 72 seconds created a ripple effect, reigniting conversations about accountability, media manipulation, and the public's role in demanding truth. It reminded people that you don't have to be loud to be powerful. Sometimes, the calmest voices carry the heaviest weight, especially when they speak with purpose. Ultimately, the showdown between Jasmine Crockett and Ted Cruz wasn't just another congressional clip. It was a mirror held up to the system and a call for something better. Crockett didn't walk away with applause. She walked away with respect. And Cruz? He walked away reminded that titles don't protect you from the truth. America was stunned, not because they heard something outrageous, but because they heard something rare. Clarity, courage, and conviction, all in under 2 minutes. And maybe, just maybe, that's the kind of leadership the country is finally ready for.